Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Insights from the Couch. I am joined by my trusty companion, Dr. Anamaria Ryan, owner of Seven Counseling. And today, after all the anticipation of our last podcast, we are introducing the female narcissist. And we are actually going to have a focus on the malignant narcissist. In the form of a female. We're going to be talking about how they present in partnerships, relationships, and how they present as mothers. Because you may be surprised to find that perhaps when you think about it, you might have had a mother in your life that you know of, or it was your own mother that was a narcissist, and you never knew that. And maybe a lot of the things that you've felt trauma wise came from the psychological manipulation and the trauma bonding that happens when you have a female narcissist for a mother. So let's go ahead and get started. Dr. Ana Maria,
Thank you,
welcome.
Jalili. Always, always such a pleasure doing this with you when we have the opportunity.
Dr. Ana Maria, I'm going to actually, do you want to go ahead and say the name of the book that you want to recommend
Yes,
after this
yes, yes,
podcast?
absolutely. This is, I don't know if some people that have been listening to us recall us talking about self help books and my dislike, my particular dislike for self help books, but this is actually one that I appreciated when it was suggested to me. It was many moons ago, probably about 20 years ago, and it's called You're Not Crazy, It's Your Mother. But by Danu Morrigan, Danu Morrigan, Morrigan. So it's a good book. It's an easy read in terms of size, but it's a little painful if you're not aware that maybe your mother is a narcissist.
Well, thank you so much. I actually look forward to downloading it and reading it myself. I think um, I could probably learn something from that as well. So, jumping into the traits of the female narcissist, something interesting that I found out while doing the research on narcissistic personality disorder was that females are 70% less likely to be diagnosed as with narcissistic personality disorder and instead be diagnosed with bipolar
Borderline.
disorder or borderline personality disorder. Um, on the other hand, males are 70% more likely to be diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder when in fact they may be experiencing bipolar disorder or borderline personality
Yes.
disorder. So you might believe that the person who is in your life is someone who has a mood disorder, just because of their overall behavior. But in fact, the behavior is rehearsed and it's specific to the narcissistic, uh, I guess in this case, the female narcissist, the neurosis of the female narcissist.
Thank you for commenting on that. I actually was going to say that you must have read my mind for starters, that we live in a society that perceives narcissism to be something exclusive of males, and this is not true. So that's why sometimes we don't see the traits of narcissism in females because we're not used to that. When people talk about narcissism, is much more directed towards men, like, oh, that's such a narcissist, or that guy is a narcissist. But we're going to talk about the characteristics that people need to be looking for, if that's okay with you, Jalili. And also, in terms of personality disorders, just wanted to do a little reminder here that sometimes people don't know that personality disorders cannot be medicated. And personality disorders are complex to treat in therapy because they take a lot of work. Especially narcissistic
Mhm.
personality, you can not convince a person that they have this personality disorder easily. So that's why I admire therapists like yourself that are perfectly okay treating narcissists. Because, yeah, this is not something that is going to be medicated, folks. It's not something that is going to go away. Unfortunately, with personality disorders, is a consistent kind of a thing. So let's just think in terms of a personality issue as opposed to something that you can't take medications for or just go to therapy and fix. So with that being said,
Right.
I wanted to say that in my caseload, I have had the opportunity to work with beautiful women that have narcissistic mothers. And when we were going through this checklist, and I have suggested the book to some of them, it was extremely eye opening for them. Because once again, we have this idea that moms are supposed to be nurturing, that they're supposed to do anything and everything for their children with compassion, being selfless. And when you don't get that from your mom, it's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? So most likely, if you hear some of these traits and you think, oh, that sounds like my mom, maybe your mom has some narcissistic personality traits. One of the things that women do that I think is not overly explored as being self-absorbed. We know that narcissism is not exclusive to being self-absorbed, but I think it's expected for a woman in some ways because we're like feminine and we like certain things to be self-centered, but we're talking about a self-centeredness that is above the threshold of what we consider expected or normal. I don't like the word normal, but it's an obsession with self-centeredness. So anything that has to do with other people, somehow she's going to make it about her in terms of mom. So your accomplishments in school, if you are in sports or if you do arts or if you are in some way recognized, they're going to make it about them. If you come to them with some sort of problem, mom, I'm being bullied at school or this is happening, they find a way to make it about them. So it's no longer about you, but it's all about them. I don't know if you have anything to add to that trait, but I can definitely continue down the list.
Okay, so you're gonna go
Hmm.
down the list of behaviors in has
Hmm.
mothers towards the female
Correct.
child, is that right? All right, I'll follow up with behaviors has mothers towards the male child because it's very interesting the dynamics between a female narcissist and a male child. So I'll follow up with that when you
And
finish
I
with
don't
the
know if this
list.
list is going to be something that resonates to male partners or even female partners in same gender relationships that are dealing with a female narcissist. So I'm just going to go ahead and go down the list talking about mothers, but we can definitely do a comparison at the end with partners if that's okay. Another thing
Yeah,
that
yeah, definitely.
happens is never admitting that you're at fault for anything. So again, if you go to your mom and you say something like, "Mom, you forgot to pick me up at the bus stop," it's never going to be like, "I am so sorry that that happened." You will never hear that word coming out of the mother because she's not going to find that she did anything wrong. There's always going to be some kind of justification or shift blaming that this happened because of you. So it's something that you must have done. You probably forgot to tell me that I needed to pick you up at that time, etc., etc. Sometimes I'm sorry, mothers that are narcissistic, they focus a lot on petty stuff that you do as a child. And so it's constantly reminding you of those little things that in their eyes are a big deal. So it's basically making a mountain out of a molehill. A lot of these moms are very obsessed with social status. So they love the Facebook post or the Instagram and making it look like they are the mom of the year, when in reality, it's not like that. It's all for show, but they just love to be perceived as perfect mom.
Can I
Absolutely.
speak to that for a
Absolutely.
second? Okay. Here's what you can think about this trend where the mother and the daughter dress almost exactly the same. And then they go on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook and they like do little videos together and it's like mommy and me. That's one of the examples of what you would be
I think
looking
I'm
at.
going to piggyback on what you just said, and that is another trait, which is being in competition with your daughter. So, yes, it may seem like an innocent thing that we're doing because we're so much alike, but sometimes you may find like your mom is actually your competitor. Like, and that's not supposed to happen with a mom. You're not supposed to feel that way. Your mom is your friend, your mom is your supporter. She's not your competition. But a lot of times, girls with narcissistic moms feel like they are in competition with their moms. Okay. So another thing that happens is being I don't want to say taking advantage of other people, but yes, the exploitation of other people for their own gain. So as kids, as female children of narcissistic moms, you may notice that your mom is actually taking advantage of a lot of things that she shouldn't be taking advantage of, and it's presented like something normal. I'm not saying that people that need the help shouldn't ask for the help. That's different. But when you exploit other people for your own gain, that's a little different. So, again, the traits that we're talking about are things that go over the threshold of what is considered normal. So, if you want to have a picture with your daughter because you look so much alike and you want to dress just like her for one time, that's great. But what we're talking about here are extreme behaviors that get to be bothersome and create trauma for the children or partners. Sometimes these women appear very insecure. So, in the core of being narcissistic, there is this very fragile sense of self. And so, you may notice that you need to build your mom up and you need to tell her how beautiful and how great of a mom she is because she's very fragile in her own sense of self esteem or security. These moms are terribly reactive as well. So if you are critical of them, they're going to lash out. They're going to tell you that you're wrong, how can you do this to me? How dare you? Look at all the things that I have done for you is one of the sentences that you need to look for when they are reactive and sensitive to criticism. Narcissistic moms are extremely dependent on their female children, mainly. They want the female child to take care of them forever and ever without hesitation, without questioning. It's like the little girl becomes almost like a slave to the mom's needs. And as they age, is something that you don't even question. You don't question, they don't question it. You're supposed to take care of your mom and her needs. Let's not forget that narcissism also is deeply rooted in a sense of uh, not also insecurity, but being very my goodness, the word escapes me right now. Immature. So people are emotionally immature. You may find that your mom behaves like a 16-year-old when you already are 20, 25, 35, 40, and your mom continues to behave emotionally like a 16-year-old. So that's another hint that will tell you that your mother may be a narcissist. Victimization and using victim as leverage is another thing you're going to hear. So, of course, you're going to be feeling guilty. And as you feel guilty, they play the victim and they are the eternal victim of everything and everyone because it's always everyone's fault, but their own fault. Um, Narcissistic moms are very passive aggressive, and that's why they're not
Yeah.
it's hard to detect them because maybe narcissistic men are more assertive in their communication and they're more boisterous and they're more like a peacock, but with females, especially with moms, you're going to find a lot of passive aggression, I'm sorry, and manipulation. So that's that. And yeah, you can probably sometimes feel like you're dealing with a mean girl from school. This is true. This is true. This
True.
is true. So that's another one. But then again, you expect that from the kids at school that you don't get along with, that maybe are not part of your group, that they're going to be mean. Maybe that's the nature of girls at a certain age, but you don't expect that from your mom. So maybe a comment regarding your appearance that is unkind. I have heard a lot of adult clients that tell me, my mom used to tell me that I was fat. My mom used to tell me that I would never amount to anything. My mom used to tell me that I shouldn't wear that type of clothes because I'd look like a slut. That kind of thing is your mom bullying you and being a mean girl to you, and it shouldn't happen. A mother shouldn't say that to a daughter. Finally, narcissistic moms tend to be very unstable in relationships and workplaces. But workplaces, I think that they do better. They're better at keeping jobs, but most definitely unstable in their personal relationships. And you're going to find a loyal companionship most of the time that is there. It's probably the codependent companionship, the codependent husband or partner, if this is a same sex marriage. And the relationship can be unstable, but they are very, very good at manipulating the partner. So, children, female children, and partners suffer this, they take the brunt from this instability. Basically, that's it.
One final thought on that is, oftentimes children both male and female of however, there's specific differences, but, children of narcissistic mothers often develop, mood disorders like bipolar, or
Personality.
borderline
Yep.
personality um, it is because of the instability in the relationship where the child truly never feels
Safe.
secure, emotionally safe, emotionally secure. They're never able to develop a safe attachment and secure attachment to pretty much anyone because it's really important to understand that the narcissistic mother is going to make sure that the father figure in the home is not emotionally present. They cannot afford to have a strong, secure father figure um, present in the home because otherwise the mother is not has control doesn't have the
Mhm.
full control. So they are going to try to triangulate.
Yes.
They are going to try they're going to try to separate the children from the father um, by making it seem like oh, I sacrificed myself to raise the children so you don't have to be bothered by them. I'm the one that takes care of them. Children are a burden. You should go to work instead. You're the provider, blah blah blah. So they do their best to make sure that there's no relationship in that child's life that truly feels secure that they can go
Sometimes
to.
also what I have heard,
So
and I'm sorry I hope I didn't interrupt you. What I have heard and what I have noticed, adding to what you were saying from my clients and in personal experiences, is that the father takes the mother's side. That's why I was saying that the faithful companionship that becomes a codependent. So the children are kind of like unseen, and the father is taking care of the mother in every sense, emotionally, financially, any way you want to think about it. So anyway, if the female daughter of the narcissist speaks to the father about this, what I have noticed is that sometimes the father goes like, "Well, that's your mother. She doesn't feel well," or "That's your mother is doing all these things for you. She's trying her best." So it's basically like the female daughter perceives like the father is taking the side of the narcissistic mother. And so
yeah,
they don't have anyone in the family system. They cannot count on that. They cannot count on mom. And mom is doing a very subtle triangulation. It's not that's why I was saying
yeah,
passive aggression when they do these things.
yeah.
Mhm.
Something else that you might notice is the female child developing things like eating disorders, body dysmorphia, gender dysphoria. They might develop um, e- uh, substance use disorders. And the reason for that is because there's going to come a point in that relationship where the female child starts to realize that there's something very wrong there. And that's when there's a significant climax in in the relationship with the mother where there's the the manipulation goes from passive aggressive to very insidious at that point. Like when they hit that 13 years old and older, and the female child starts to realize my mom's not everything that people think she is. She's not, she's not as charismatic, she's not as sweet, she's not this nice person. And the female child starts to realize something's not right here. The narcissist mother is
Get
going
vicious.
to really double down on the viciousness of the psychological abuse that's gonna
Mhm.
happen.
Yeah, because let's not forget that it is all about control. And since they have been in control of you, you're
Mhm,
waking up to the abuse. They don't like that. So they're going to try to control you again with the techniques that worked for them before.
mhm.
Another thing that I have noticed with my survivors of narcissistic abuse that are daughters is the fact that they continue to look for this is expected, guys, that you're going to continue to look for the support and the nature of a traditional mother and your mother, and you continue to hit the wall. You continue to go there for that approval. You continue to go there for that support, and you're not getting it. So please don't feel bad if that's the case with you. It really takes a while to first notice that you have a narcissistic mother, and second, learn how to handle it. So one of the things that I would suggest for handling this problem is notice the patterns, because they do have patterns. And when you act differently than what they expect, That's when you get one over them. That's when you are in control of the situation in a way. So try to just really look for those patterns and be mindful of your reactions. It becomes kind of like a game of chess. I hate to say it because it shouldn't be like that between mothers and daughters, but sometimes it's like that.
Yeah. And understanding that I always the reason why I feel like I do fairly well working with narcissistic personality disorder is because um I understand the nature of the narcissist has something that is simply who they are. You know, whenever I have a patient that comes to me and says, "But why are they this way? Why would they treat me like that? I was an innocent person. I never did anything. I was her mother, I mean her child, whatever." When they come to me, I say, "When you go in the deep ocean and you find that a shark ate a seal, do you blame the shark? Uh, you don't. It's in the nature of the shark to eat that seal. And the fact of the matter is that it's up to the seal to realize that, hey, there's danger afoot and I need to protect myself. And so the more you try to externalize the responsibility of self uh navigating your emotions and your anger and your low self-esteem and your feelings of frustration or pain of not having the mother that you deserved, the more you try to outsource that to the narcissist, the more painful it becomes because you're trying to change the
That's true.
nature of of the person, and that is simply something that you're never going to find. And unfortunately you're also walking yourself straight into the trap, because everything that you do that can potentially lead back to the narcissistic mother, they're going to take every chance you give them to try and bring you back into
And I hate to
manipulation.
say this, guys, but your mom most likely is never going to change. So we need to come to terms with what you were talking about. This is the nature of the person. This is who they are, and hence it's very difficult for them to change in a therapeutic process. Hence, there is no way to
Mhm,
medicate this condition, but it is up to you to set those boundaries. Sometimes I tell my clients, listen, it's up to every person. It is not necessary for you to completely cut cords with your mother. That's your mother. That's one of the most important relationships, if not the most important relationship you will have in your life. But you need to kind of like gauge how much interaction with her is necessary at some point. I have clients that speak to their moms on the phone only, or text them only, or see them only in holidays. So every person needs to learn how much is too much. But you're absolutely correct. I
mhm.
think it's up to the person that is dealing with a narcissistic mother, a daughter of a narcissistic mother, to notice those patterns and realize that you're not going to change her. You're just, I'm sorry to say, guys, we can thank her for giving us life. We can thank her for being the vehicle to for us to be here as humans, but that's it. There's nothing else that we should be
Mhm.
waiting or hoping or expecting from this person, as sad as it sounds. And that was about
Okay.
mothers of girls. And I think you wanted to say something about mothers, narcissistic
Yeah.
mothers of boys, and how that affects. Mhm.
Yeah. I find that to be a little bit different and very interesting because um mothers of male children um who are the mother is a narcissist, what you we're going to find is obviously the mother is going to do everything in her power to control the child, um to the point where the child believes that the narcissistic mother is essentially the epitome of what female perfection should be like. There's almost, in my opinion, what I would consider incestuous connection. The female narcissist will seek validation through the male child. You'll see her doing a whole show in front of him, dresses and going shopping and like, "Oh, how do I look? Does this fit me well? What do you think? Should I lose weight?" What, that validation is go from a very young age, they'll seek that emotional male validation from their children, oftentimes leading to the child feeling like almost there's a role reversal happening there where the male child feels like they're responsible for the emotional well-being of the mother. Um, and like he's responsible for her and he's responsible for taking care of her. If the female narcissist feels threatened by another female in the picture in the form of a girlfriend, in the form of any kind of love interest for the male child, it's all out war. It's she's not good enough for you. She is not the person I thought you would pick. She's just gonna bring you trouble, blah blah blah. And it's the male child is going to struggle just like the female child, but the male child is going to struggle with self-identity, but more importantly, they're going to struggle with relationships because they're going to be trained by the female narcissist to compare all other females to mom. Mom is the most charismatic. Mom is the kindest. Mom is the sweetest. Mom is everything. Mom is the world. Well, why would you say that to my mom? Why would you treat my mom like that? She was just helping. She was just looking out for you. While in the meantime, the narcissistic mother is over here on the side, literally causing
Gaslighting.
havoc in this child's
Mm,
life
mm.
and triangulating and manipulating and lying. So the relationship where there's a male child is you're going to notice that she's going to look for a secondary, almost like a husband figure from him, a someone who's validating her, someone who is like worshiping her. And so you're going to notice that a lot of male children of narcissistic mothers end up developing narcissistic personality themselves
Yes.
because because they're so keen on perfectionism and their self-esteem is practically non-existent because it all depends on her. If she's happy, then I'm happy because she's happy with me. So because love for a narcissistic
Very
mother
conditional.
is entirely conditional, entirely conditional. So when they go into a relationship, the male child enters our relationship, they're going to understand, well, love should be conditional. Perfectionism is a must. Image is everything, because that's what my mother always taught me, that to be a man, you had to present yourself this way, that way, and the other. Like perfectionism is always present. And she will forever be the shadow in the life of any female that tries or another male. They really don't care. If there is a competition to have, there's any present of another person in the life of this child will represent a competition, especially if they're going to take them away from them to live in a separate household or something like that. Yeah. Um it's all out
So,
war.
on the one hand, maybe for the female child, it is a feeling of you're not good enough, you will never be good enough, and you represent competition. So, therefore, I cannot have a connection with you because you're my competitor. And on the other hand, for the male child, is almost like a welcome invitation to be a substitution for a partner that is going to adore her forever and ever. And okay,
Yep.
great.
Exactly. So that leads me to obviously now talking about partners, right? So, as we know, narcissists tend to be very charismatic. Typically, most female narcissists are extremely charismatic, usually very philanthropic. You'll find them helping in nonprofit organizations, you'll find them in uh galas where you donate $1 million for this, $100,000 for that, whatever. You'll find them appearing in places where you would never expect a narcissist to be. And it's because image is absolutely everything for them. A lot of them um, have, They have a lot of surgical procedures done. It's just image is absolutely super important. Another thing is the female narcissist is going to pick a partner, not a lover, mind you. Most female narcissists don't mind having lovers, but they will pick a partner. If we're looking for husband, they're going to pick a partner that is at their consideration up to par with how they see themselves, because this partner is going to elevate them. And so you're going to find a lot of doctors, a lot of celebrities, a lot of CEOs and CFOs, et cetera, who unknowingly partner up with female narcissists because they are the star of the show. They're beautiful. I mean, the packaging is amazing. They're very beautiful. They're very charismatic. They do very well in social situations.
And I also want to add that if they want to have children, the children are accessories. So it's nothing that you're ever going to hear them say, like, I want to have a child because I want to give the best of me to this little person. It's more like, I want to have a child because it's going to make me look good, or that's what everyone else is doing. Everyone else is having a child, so therefore I should have a child. So it is more an
Yeah.
accessory than experience, as it should be for a mom.
Or it's going to guarantee that I can have greater control over
That
my
too.
partner.
Leverage.
Um, yeah, leverage. Another thing of a partnership with a female narcissist is that in public, they're very well put together. However, in private, they're very neurotic. And so they will use all manner of psychological manipulation to keep their male partners um, under control. So anything from guilt,
Sex.
shame, um, sex, definitely they will use sex. Actually, I have known female narcissists who they almost encourage or pretend to look the other way if their partner is having an illicit affair or a lover, because that's premium guilt material. That is exactly the type of weapon that a female narcissist needs to then turn around and
Manipulate.
say, you know, "Mother of your children, I gave you everything, you've betrayed me, and you're doing this and you're doing that." And there's this very dramatic display of emotion as if this man is the most important thing in her life, but in fact he's just
Well,
another
furthermore,
resource.
because the man is also an accessory, like the children, they're not in the relationship really
Right.
for the values of the relationship. Is more for status, like you're saying. So it's easy to turn a blind eye on an affair or something that is not going right, um, unless they
Right.
can control it. I guess that's what they thrive in. I was gonna say that in my opinion, the characteristics of narcissistic mothers and narcissistic female partners are very similar. Because let's not forget that we tend to gravitate towards what we know and what we're comfortable with. So, another thing that I want to say is that this subject of narcissism has gotten out of control. And if you're looking at a lot of TikToks that talk about narcissism or YouTube videos or whatever, or some coaches or so self proclaimed coaches are talking about it, we really have to look at the clinical aspect of narcissistic personality disorder. People can have traits, your mother can have some traits, but it doesn't mean that she should be fully diagnosed by you if she clicks some of the boxes. The bottom line for me would be whether this is your mom or your partner, the most important thing is the know the game. Go ahead and notice what are the
Yeah.
patterns and then try to react a little differently and set some boundaries as much as you can. That's my suggestion for children and for
Yeah.
partners. Sorry.
I think that one way that you can know how narcissistic a person is when you set boundaries. When you set boundaries across the board, every single person that you're setting the boundaries with feels uncomfy a little bit. Everybody, they were used to doing things a certain way with you. Now you're changing the game, and that can be an uncomfortable thing because human beings don't like change. That's normal, and it should be something that happens for a short period of time. So often that person will express uh joy or support because look at you, like you're finally saying no, I knew you were uncomfortable with this, like I'm proud of you. So they'll express a little bit, maybe they'll show a little bit of disappointment, but they're going to bounce back. They're going to bounce back and they're going to then try to be supportive on the long term. They're going to try to adapt to your relationship with them because you matter
Well, I
to
mean,
them.
the
You
bottom line, I'm sorry, Jalili, is that when you have an adult to adult communication, and I'm touching in transactional analysis, which is a psychological theory, when you have an adult to adult relationship, the person is able to realize, wait a minute, okay, these are my limits. I shouldn't push that limit. I shouldn't do this. Okay, that person most likely is right. So you have some sort of acceptance. There is a give and take. There is an equal
That's
share
awareness.
of information, love, whatever it is. But when it comes to a narcissist, that's the problem because it's always about what can I get and not giving anything to the other person or as minimum as I can give. So, mhm,
So let me clarify on that. What I was saying is this: when you're dealing with a narcissist, their initial reaction may actually be rather positive. And they might be like, "Oh, I hear you. Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. You're right. Of course, darling. Of course. Of course you're right. Oh, I you should have done this ages ago." But it's never lasting. So, yes, they will actually surprise you by saying that, "Yes, you're right, whatever," in the moment, but you better believe that that is not the real, like, they're gonna push those boundaries consistently and persistently. And so, that's the difference between the 2 is one might seem a little bit upset at first and then have some like clarity and kind of like think about it and say, actually, you know what, this would be the best thing for my friend or my loved one or whatever. I should just suck it up because this is going to be great, this is going to be good for them. So that's the normal adult mentality versus the narcissistic mentality is, yeah, sure, I'll tell you whatever you want to hear now, but you're going to do what I tell you to do in the
sure.
end.
I mean, technique could be guilt. It could be turn it around on you. I mean, there are so many things that they can do. That's true. But think about a narcissist as a pouty child that is going to get what they want when they want it, and they most likely want it now. So it's
Yeah.
not an adult to adult relationship. Whether you're the child, sometimes you find yourself being more adult than your mother because you are more mature emotionally and mentally than your father can be.
Yeah. Okay. One more thing before we finish up with the partnership. Um, so the female narcissist is going to uh again use a lot of psychological manipulation, but it's very important. And as we were talking about relationships with the children, you are going to notice that the female narcissist is going to do everything in her power to separate the partner from everyone that is perceived as a threat, which is just about anybody that has an intimate relationship. So that partner is going to end up arguing with siblings, family members, um, everything around the house is going to revolve around the female narcissist. She's the one that preps everything. She's the one that runs the house. She's the one that makes all the plans. And she's going to make the partner feel like she's doing all that out of a philanthropic, empathetic, loving nature. And that she's just doing it to make your life easier. She's doing it to make things more comfortable for you so that you can come home and relax. But in fact, it's all about controlling everyone and everything in the environment.
Mm.
And so it's going to be one of those things where, you know how you were saying, Ana Maria, that the father is going to say, well, your mom's not, your mom doesn't mean it, blah, blah, blah. Well, it comes down to the fact that the father has not developed a close
With the
enough
children.
relationship to the
Yeah.
child, yeah, to trust that child, but they have the perception that the mom has fed them. of the child. It can be anything from, let me tell you, the kids have been a nightmare. Your daughter, your daughter decided that she was going to go off and go on a date and not let me know, and I've been just going crazy, and I can't handle this anymore, and I can't, and you don't understand because you're never home, and so, like, here's the perception of the unruly teenage girl
And
you
this is
know
where the benign nature of being a female, because we in nature are soft and delicate and sometimes vulnerable, right? It is used as manipulation because the father at the time may feel like he's actually saving the mother from the pain that the children are causing or anyone is causing. So the eternal
Mhm,
victimization of this mother is causing for the father to be the savior and the hero. And the
mhm,
kids are definitely casualties of that war.
right. And so when you look at a relationship, the female narcissist is going to make it appear like she's entirely devoted to her family, like she's entirely devoted to her husband. She might have multiple lovers. Um, that's irrelevant to her. That doesn't actually play a part. Like, there's no empathy in how she makes the husband feel or how she makes the children feel. The children are going to have
Oh, yes.
secrets. She's gonna teach the children to have secrets. She's gonna teach them to feel, scared of the father. Um, not not necessarily because of physical abuse, but definitely, well, the disappointment and shame and guilt and these types of things are gonna happen to triangulate.
And one more thing, that underlying self-esteem issue that narcissists have at the core, it doesn't show that way. For us, it may look like she looks perfect. She looks the part, like you were talking, right? And the children get this role model that they want to grow up to be like that, right? Even girls, we look at
Mm,
mom and it's like, wow, she's all this, she's all that, she's perfect. And what that's going to create for a female is, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy.
mm,
And that's what you're going to be looking for in partners. And that's why sometimes you find yourself feeling like you're not worthy or you're not good enough with your partner because you're replicating basically your relationship with mom.
yeah. And when you grow up in a relationship with where love, like we were saying, is conditional, then the idea is I'm not going to set boundaries because I can't afford to set boundaries. I need to be the one that's constantly doing whatever
A
my
doormat.
partner wants so that they will
Hmm.
want me. If you are in a relationship where love is conditional, you can't possibly feel comfortable setting boundaries because you constantly have to be proving yourself and your
But that
worth. And
that's why it's
so
very important to set boundaries with your narcissistic mom first, and then we can talk about relationships later. But I think everything in the core stems from mom and dad. That sounds very Freudian, but it is the truth. So,
it's the truth. Absolutely.
anyway,
Okay. All right. So to wrap it up, um, we've been talking about narcissistic mothers, narcissistic females, and just tidbits are this. If you notice that a person in your life, female, males too, but female in this particular podcast, um, is approaching you with manipulative types of advances. This person may feel like a friend, may feel like a lover, may feel like a mother. However, their behavior doesn't match what you believe them to be. Their role doesn't match the behavior. The words don't match the role. The way that they treat you doesn't match the role. You go to someone else's house and you see a mother figure that is loving, that is caring, that if a child accidentally drops something on the floor, that mom gets down on her knees and picks it up and maybe says, like, it's okay, honey, you're fine, everything's fine, and doesn't actually turn around and say, what were you thinking? Did you not notice that I told you to hold the plate exactly the way? This is what happens when you don't listen to me. This is what happens when you
you're
don't
so
do things
stupid.
right.
You're so
Like,
dumb.
You're so stupid. Can you be any more careless? Can you be less graceful? You know, it'd be nice to have a daughter that was actually graceful for once. You know, you if you go to someone else's house and you see a real mother figure and you start to feel like, "Dang, I come home and that is not the way I get treated ever." Like, not just when she's upset, like, ever. I don't ever feel warmth from my mother. I don't ever feel love from my mother. I can't remember the last time my mother told me she loved me or held me, because holding me is only in public, only when other people are watching, only when we're in front of the camera. But she never holds me just for holding me. She never lays down in bed with me without posting something about it next. Like, those types of
Also,
things.
if you're
Go
noticing
ahead.
that you're responsible for your mother's needs, remember you're a child.
Yes.
That's not your responsibility. It's your parents' responsibility to be nurturing and give you what you need. That's their job. So if you notice that you're responsible for your mother's needs, if you notice that she's in competition with you, I have had plenty of clients that told me that the mother had an affair with their partner, boyfriend, or the person that they were dating, and they thought that that was completely normal. The mother did. So I'm exaggerating, but if you notice that your mom is in competition with you, if you notice that she makes comments that are derogatory and hurtful towards you, then most likely you're facing a mother that has some narcissism.
If you notice that your mom starts not just date well, maybe not to the point of dating, but definitely flirting with your guy friends, especially if you're a male, you notice that she's clearly flirting with them. Like, she's finding opportunities to get closer to them. She's finding opportunities to show off her body or talk to them inappropriately. Like, that's another sign as well. Because anything that can give her a sense of validation goes, and she's shamelessly, she just does
Mhm.
not care. So those are our thoughts on female narcissists. As always, we invite you to give us your suggestions if you believe that there's any topic that you'd like for us to talk about, or if you've had an experience with a female narcissist or with a mother figure who's a female narcissist and you'd like to share your thoughts with us, you can leave it in the comments. And for today, we hope you have a wonderful day and see you on the next
And remember,
podcast.
you're not crazy. It's your mother, the book. Thank you, Jalili.
Literally and figuratively.
Thank you.
Bye.